Hi, I'm Dr. Chad Larson. I think people would be surprised by how common nutrient deficiencies are in the US. It's generally regarded that, there's a really massive abundance of food in the US. So how can most people or a big chunk of the population have nutrient deficiencies? And here's how, nutritional deficiencies have really kind of evolved over time. And in fact, part of the Farm Bill, parts of which are still in effect today from like the 1930s and 40s, especially when it comes to crop subsidies, that there's a much different problem back in those days with nutrient deficiencies. The main type of nutritional deficiency back then was macronutrient. Remember, there's three main macronutrients: carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And so they did something that seemed pretty reasonable at the time to make sure that people were getting just enough general food, is they subsidized certain crops that are very, dense in these macronutrients so that people aren't starving to death. And really the lion's share of the $20 billion that the US spends in subsidizing farms in the US go to corn and wheat and soybeans and rice, these foods that are very high in these macronutrients, especially carbohydrates. However, we have a much different problem today, to the point where this type of subsidy really needs to be reconsidered, because the pendulum has almost swung the opposite way. Probably for the first time in human history, we have a combination of things. We have an obesity epidemic, and some of those same individuals that are obese are nutrient deficient. And that's kind of unusual in human history. Usually people that were nutrient deficient were also very, they were skinny to the point of being unhealthy. They just didn't have meat on their bones really, because they were starving basically. But now we have so many foods that are very calorically dense, but nutritionally very poor. And it's from many of these same foods that are subsidized today, from corn and wheat, soybeans and rice, that they've extracted so many components of these macronutrients because they're subsidized for these farms. And so it's very cheap to produce these foods. And that's why we see such an abundant amount of things like corn syrup and foods that are made from highly refined wheat, and high dense gluten foods, and foods that are very high in these very refined carbohydrates. So you take these crops that are subsidized and they go through this processing that allows the food to be utilized in all kinds of different ways, in very refined and processed ways that we know now massively contribute to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, much of the conditions that really plague our culture today. And so nutrient deficiencies are very common. I think even to the point where most people probably need to supplement with some kind of micronutrients, because the macronutrients are really not a problem anymore. Macronutrients are not the problem. It's the micronutrients that are a problem. In fact, it's been theorized, and I've certainly seen it clinically, that many people who overeat, they're overeating these processed carbohydrates because their brain and their other cells in their body are not satisfied. They keep eating because they're supposed to be getting selenium and zinc and magnesium and vitamin C and B vitamins out of these foods that are so nutrient poor. Their brain tells them to keep eating them. Plus, we know that as carbohydrates go up, insulin goes up, and insulin is going to make us hungry and hungrier. It kind of keeps a person on this vicious cycle of very nutrient dense foods, nutrient poor foods, but high in carbohydrate and other macronutrients, which at least partially is contributing to some of these issues that people are having. So I oftentimes need to recommend certain supplements to help augment a person's diet, because they've done studies in the US, in fact, one that was published just last year, where they evaluated, they're looking at just one nutrient, magnesium, which is a macro mineral, meaning we need macro amounts every day. It's a nutrient that we need hundreds of milligrams every day of this nutrient to maintain health. And they evaluated diets in the United States, and 75% of diets were deficient in magnesium. So you put those things, two things together, it's a macro mineral, we need lots of it, and it's very, very commonly deficient. That's a recipe for disaster. And that's just one nutrient. What about all the other nutrients that are out there that we've spoke about, ones that you know about, all the B vitamins and all the other minerals that we need in certain amounts on a daily basis. So we're supposed to be eating a broad variety of very, very nutrient dense foods to be getting all these nutrients in our system. So since most diets are deficient in these nutrients, oftentimes we have to supplement them. What I like to emphasize is a whole food based approach. I prefer that people get these micronutrients from the foods that they consume. And that's kind of priority number one. And hopefully that happens. Sometimes that doesn't happen, or that doesn't happen every day. And so when that doesn't happen on as regular of a basis as necessary to really maintain optimal health, then we need to supplement. And there's different ways to supplement. There's things like multivitamins, which are fine. In some cases, that's necessary for some people. In other cases, we want to use things like a superfood product. These superfood products, there's a whole variety of superfood products that are out there, and a lot of them contain a variety of these different vegetables that are concentrated in such a way where they're very nutrient dense. We get lots of the micronutrients like the minerals and different vitamins, but also in phytochemicals, these phytonutrients, these plant-based nutrients that are not as well known, but they're very, very important for human health in general. But these superfood products, like this one right here, these are not all created equally. When we developed this product, it's a very comprehensive list of nutrients that the vast majority of people in the US are not getting on a regular basis. I wanted to make sure of a few things. I wanted to be in the most whole food form that's possible. And the type of product that we can put in a supplement like this that maintains the highest quality and closest to our natural form of a vegetable, for example, is when it's freeze-dried. When it's freeze-dried, it maintains everything in that vegetable as if it were eaten in the standard raw form. And when you add water or put it with some kind of liquid, it sort of reconstitutes that vegetable as if you're eating it raw. And so it maintains all the nutrients, all the enzymes, the flavor profile, which is really key, so these taste good. And so we wanted to have a product that had a broad spectrum of these freeze-dried nutrients. But as you can see what I wrote on the board, not all superfood products are created equally. And what oftentimes happens is those vegetables are sort of juiced, and then they're dehydrated under very, very high heat processing. And this high heat processing kills all the nutrients, certainly kills the flavor profile, and just wipes out certain enzymes and different things where you really lose out on all the beneficial aspects of eating the vegetable. So we wanted to make one that is very high in nutritional value, that is nearly like eating it raw. So the freeze-dried form and also the sprouted form of these vegetables is really the most nutrient dense and the closest to its natural form that you can get in a supplement like this. In fact, that's what we have right up on here, farm to formula, because that was the other thing that we really wanted. We wanted to be basically farm fresh. And so we teamed up with organic farmers here in the US. That's another thing that you're not going to find from most supplement companies that make superfood drinks like this, is that they have products that are coming from China for the most part. And we just can't ensure the quality. This one is USDA certified organic and grown right here in the US. So it supports US organic farmers, which is also a great thing. Every time you drink these products, use these products, you're supporting organic farmers in the United States. So that's super cool. And other products just can't make that claim. And also when they're in their whole food form, like when they're freeze dried, then we can actually make whole food vegetable serving claims, because it's like eating it in its natural form, and that's validated by third-party analysis. So pretty cool. I first start with, step one is getting as much of this as you can in your diet. There's going to be some days where, oh man, I'm just not getting as much vegetables in my diet. On that day, take the supplement. So it's a great thing to have just at home, or take it to work. It's something that you can use if you're just not getting quite the nutritional value that you should in your regular diet. You could supplement this and bam, just flood the body with a whole bunch of these micronutrients and phytonutrients that you really just can't find anywhere else other than in the plant world. And so it's really key to have this as a supplement where you can use it when needed, because these are the kind of nutrient deficiencies, unfortunately, that we're finding today. The macronutrient deficiencies really aren't happening as much. It's much more the micronutrients. So enjoy your micronutrients, enjoy your phytonutrients. These are the kind of things that I think are more common today, and it's things that are certainly associated with chronic illness. So enjoy your superfoods, and I will keep reading the studies and bringing you the information. Until then, keep it real.